What's up, y'all? This is your homie Ajax, repping Purple Hash Productions from Detroit, Michigan. You're watching YadaMedia.net. Smoke up, baby. Yeah. On the skillet, got these fairies scared. Yeah, I'm Purple Hash, raced and met this junkie hoe. Katrina left the party at her man's. When I initially started making music, it was shit like AC/DC and Green Day were like my two favorite bands, so I was really into like rock and roll a lot. But then I discovered House of Pain. That was actually my first hip-hop record. But that shit right there really put me on to hip-hop, and I started experimenting with songwriting when I was like 9 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up, I was writing rock songs when I was 9, and I think that's what pushed me, and eventually I just kept pushing. I had a friend who actually was a cousin of Danon from D12, and he got me into, he was rapping, you know what I mean? And I was not the biggest fan of rap music. I liked House of Pain, I liked some stuff. But I saw him doing it, and because I was writing songs already, I just kind of got into it. So around 13, I really started writing hip-hop lyrics and pushing myself and taking my songwriting to a different level. Stuff like Daft Punk, ICP, Bone Thugs and Harmony, obviously Tech Nine and Twisted, Cottonmouth Kings. I really love a lot of Bob Marley, a lot of reggae and stuff like that. So I would say those type of things started influencing me more as I got into my teenage, later years. But yeah, dude, a lot of that, you know, a lot of people wouldn't expect me to say, though, the AC/DC and the Green Day and the, you know, and the House of Pain. That was the early Ajax influence right there. Open up your third eye, keep your soul breathing, warm your mind up when your heart's below freezing. If I had to describe my music, I would say that Ajax music is reflective, feel-good music. You know, I like to make music that makes you think and sparks, you know, emotion and interest within you, but also music that's going to make you feel good and going to heal you. I like to think, yeah, that's what we're going to call it. We're going to say that Ajax music is healing music, and that's what I like to think of my style as. First performance, I believe, was in 2001 when I was 14. And I think it was actually at the talent show of the studio that I recorded at. I'd say my first real like show in like the underground hip hop scene was when I was 15. I played the Wired Frog with Hell's Kitchen and Bag of Hammers. Yeah, that's what it was. There was a few other people on that bill, but Hell's Kitchen and Bag of Hammers were like the main two groups. I had a lot of really amazing times with Twisted last year. I just did parts of the Abominations tour. I didn't do the whole thing. But I would say the show I did in New Mexico with them was incredible. It was, the energy from the fans was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was, you know, literally they had to have people holding the barricade back because the fans were just, you know, just breaking down the barricade. It was so much energy. I saw like giant native dudes that looked like they weighed like 400 pounds jumping up and down higher than the little people, the little like kids next to them, you know what I mean? It was just this crazy kind of energy. So New Mexico with Twisted last year was one of my most notable performances, but I'd also have to say that Gathering 2009, I got to open up for the Psychopathic Riders on the second stage, and it was like, I think I played at like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. or something, and there had to be like, you know, at least like 2,500 people there. You know, just a really awesome number of people that I've never played in front of before, and having that outdoor stage and all that energy, that was fucking phenomenal. It was the 10th annual Gathering too, so that was probably I would say that would be probably one of my highlight performances for sure too. I feel humbled in a lot of weird ways sometimes. Sometimes I feel humbled simply by listening to someone's music. You know, like, okay, when I'm speaking of like my production game and the work I'm doing on my production, I always, you know, like I'll make something that's really good and I'll be really proud of it. And then a lot of times I'll listen to someone who I look up to in the production game, and I'll simply hear how phenomenal their shit sounds, and I'll just immediately be humbled. Like, I'm humbled every day by listening to fantastic producers. Shout out to like guys like Sticky Buds and Grizz, Grammatic, you know, all types of dudes I look up to, man. Like, I'm humbled every day by listening to those guys. When we hung out on 420 and we were backstage with Johnny Richter, and we were smoking with Johnny Richter. I think, to me, that might have been one of the more humbling experiences I've ever had. Because that, without a doubt, like, I grew up listening to Richter, man. I mean, we actually, you guys rolled in the room and we were bumping the High Society album, and I was totally fanboying out, you know, singing the old lyrics of the High Society, and you guys rolled right in. I was like, oh, you caught me. But, you know, that was great. Hanging out with Richter, man, and getting to shoot the breeze with him was really fantastic. And I would say, hey, humble me down, man. He's a really down-to-earth guy. And, you know, and the same thing, too, like anytime I'm in the room with Paul or Jamie and I see those guys, it always humbles me down, man. You know, I grew up loving these guys and, you know, looking up to them. So now that I'm actually, you know, in a situation where I'm kind of rubbing elbows with them in a more of a peer status, that humbles the fuck out of me and blows my mind. So I'd say the best advice I've ever been given was by Jamie Madrox. No bullshit. And I was probably 14 or 15. I left a message on the Twisted Hotline. And, you know, I left a lot of messages on the Twisted Hotline, actually. But anyway, when I was that age, I left a message and I just asked him, you know, what his advice was to a young artist who was inspiring in music. And, you know, this was back, obviously, it was back 2001. This is when Twisted's career was just starting to blow up. But he told me, he said that the advice I have for you is to do you, no matter what. You know, like, you might be influenced by who you're influenced by, and that's awesome. You know, take your influences and use those. But at the end of the day, make your music. Be you, and don't let anybody change that. Don't try to be anybody else. You know, don't try to sound like anybody. Try to sound like you and try to make the music that represents you and who you are. And that's what Madrox said to me. He answered my question on the Twisted Hotline, told me that when I was young, man, and straight up, I never left that. I don't know, man. You know what? Honestly, man, I feel like the biggest obstacle I've had to face in my life is almost myself in some ways, you know? I feel like, you know, we all go through situations in life that are difficult, right? You know, we all have our hardships and stuff like that. And so I'm not going to, you know, say, oh, I'm not going to go through all that sob story and talk about that shit. But I think at the end of the day, my biggest obstacle was myself, because I always known the potential that I've had, but there's been things, little feelings, like pockets of emotion that are inside of me that sometimes, like, you know, stray, that get a hold of my true intention, and they stray that intention and maybe drag it out. Maybe it's that procrastinator in me. It's kind of like, oh, fuck it, just, you know, put it off to another day, or, you know, not yet. Like, you're not ready yet. Hold on. You know, I don't know. You know, a lot of times those voices that you listen to inside do guide you properly, but a lot of times they can be really hindering you. For a long time, I stayed in my comfort zone, and I do have regrets about that, even though regrets are one thing I don't ever want to have in life. So, you know, as soon as you realize that you do have a regret, don't, you know, immediately start changing that in your life from the way you move forward from this day forward, you know, so. That's the shit, man. Revelations, baby. I love when revelations start emerging from the skull. I'm working on my new music, basically getting an agent and getting on some festivals and getting on some new tours and expanding my markets a little bit. So those are my main goals for 2015. I'm really ready to step up to the fucking plate and blow some people's minds clean into the stratosphere. YadaMedia.net. And just shout out to all the fans and anyone who's ever supported my music over the years, or who's ever seen me at a show or whatever. You know, I really appreciate the love and support, and I wish the best of you all. I got a new single dropping very soon for free. Sky Culture is coming out for free in December, so keep a lookout for that. Purplehash.com, SoundCloud.com/purplehash. That's where you can get all your free downloads at. And then on Instagram, I'm PurpleHash86, and then Twitter at PurpleHash if you want to follow us. So, mad love to everybody out there, and, you know, I hope I'll see you all very soon. Peace, baby.